Unfortunately, we have First Amendment rights. You know the crazy thing about it? Some people actually have the gall to exercise that right. And that's when it's a good idea to turn to state-funded violence and have an armed, thin blue line gang member take care of all of our problems. We do know American freedoms are a problem, don't we?
Here's the deal.
Pursuit of a Mazda heading south on 3 Points Road.
Here's the deal.
It would be difficult, in my opinion, to find a video on the internet that demonstrates a community's collective disdain for freedom of speech and their desire to have state violence come down on a guy who's exercising his freedom of speech while revealing a police department's regret that people actually have freedom to display their speech on a public roadway without being able to do anything about it. It'd be difficult to find a video that demonstrates that any more than this one right here that was just put out by Honor Your Oath Civil Rights Investigations. Our friend Jeff Gray over there doing a great job exposing the tyrants, exposing the tyranny, and exposing the lemming mentality that calls for tyranny to come down on its own self. Remember, when somebody is out there flexing and exercising their rights, they're not just standing for their rights or the rights of their family. They're standing for the rights of every single one of us. And when somebody calls for that person's rights to be violated, that person calling for the violation of rights is calling for his own rights to be violated one day. An injustice committed against one man anywhere will always be an injustice committed against all men everywhere. Let's take a look at this. This is one of those psychological and social experiments that teaches us a lot about the human psyche.
Cumming, Georgia, spelled C-U-M-M-I-N-G, is home to the landmark year 2000 case of Smith v. Cumming, which firmly established and codified our First Amendment protected right to record law enforcement officers and public employees. In Smith v. Cumming, the court specifically stated the following: as to the First Amendment claim under Section 1983, we agree with the Smiths that they had a First Amendment right, subject to reasonable time, manner, and place restrictions, to photograph or videotape police conduct. The First Amendment protects the right to gather information about what public officials do on public property, and specifically a right to record matters of public interest. Recently, I celebrated the Smith v. Cumming decision by standing on a busy street corner in Palm Coast, Florida, while holding up a sign that had "I love Smith v. Cumming, Georgia" printed on it.
So, of course, all the people are going to see is "I love Cumming,
Georgia" printed on it.
Tahlequah County 911, where's your emergency?
Hi, do you have a non-emergency number? Hello?
Yes, this is the sheriff's office. You called 911 but didn't have an emergency. Can I help you?
Has anybody called you about that idiot standing on the corner of Boulder Rock and Palm Coast Parkway with that disgusting sign?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sonny County Sheriff's Office, this is Stephen. May I help you?
Yes, Stephen. There's a gentleman on Palm Coast Parkway in Boulder Rock, and he is holding a large sign that says "I love Cumming," C-U-M-M-I-N-G. I just wanted to make
Okay.
Now, the hilarious irony to this whole thing is that the people who are calling in to the 911 call center live in the town of Cumming. His sign says, "I love Cumming." Why are they letting their minds go to the other thing instead of the name of the town? That's my question right there. It'd be so funny to be the 911 caller and say something like, wow, got a lot of people in this town whose minds are in the gutter. You know he's saying, "I love Cumming," the town, right? You know that's what he's... Oh, is that what he's saying? Yeah, your mind's in the gutter, lady.
The sheriff's office aware of this. Not something we want on our street.
Okay. Unfortunately, there's really nothing that the sheriff's office is going to be able to do.
Did you hear that? Not something we want on our streets. We don't want a guy out there flexing his rights, exercising his freedom of speech, and sensitizing everybody else to the fact that you have rights that you can flex and exercise.
They can't stop him from holding a sign like that, but vulgar.
How do you propose? Like, let's think outside of the box, call center. Ma'am, you want us to stop this guy from do that. How do you propose that we do that? So what you're saying is that you want state-funded violence to come down upon this guy who's just exercising his freedom of speech. Can you explain that? You do realize, ma'am, that we are in America, and we as Americans have an inalienable right to say what we want to say, where we want to say it in public places. You do understand that, right? Well, yeah, I don't know. If you don't like it, go to China. If you don't like it, support communism. That's what the communists do. They don't let their people say what they want to say on a street corner. This is America. Aren't you glad that he's out there doing that? Well, I just find it distasteful. Then okay, you're offended. Get over yourself.
No, it's freedom of speech, ma'am. It's the First Amendment.
What if they had obscene words, like they had the word asshole? They can do that too?
Yes, ma'am. We've received calls on them prior with...
Yes, ma'am. You know, newsflash, we're in America. Americans can do that.
all the protests and everything, and there's nothing that we can do. It's freedom of speech.
Oh, my goodness. I believe...
There's nothing we can do, he says with a voice of regret. We want to do something. We want to go after him. We want to bring state violence down upon this guy's head. Who does he think he is? Exercising his First Amendment right. How dastardly.
It's freedom of speech, 100%. It's just...
Did you hear what she said? I'm for free speech 100% unless I disagree with it, unless I get offended. Oh, okay, we understand. You're a sunshine patriot, right?
I believe in freedom of speech 100%. It's just, there's young people, there's older people. I'm middle-aged, but I don't like it, so I worry about the other people seeing it. But thank you very much, and you have a nice day.
Thank you, too.
Flagler County 911, where's your emergency?
Yeah, I don't know how to report this or what was the problem.
911, what's your emergency? They're actually calling emergency services because a guy is standing on a street corner on a public sidewalk holding a sign. Yeah, we don't want to, basically they're saying, well, when they're dialing 911 to tell people about this guy, aren't they sitting there thinking, well, if I call 911, there might be somebody else who actually has an emergency who needs to get through, but I'm going to be gumming up the phone lines.
Channel to go through, but by the Chick-fil-A line.
Are you calling about the gentleman with the sign?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're aware, and there's nothing that we can do about it. It's his First Amendment right.
So, are you just...
Instead of saying there's nothing we can do about it, there's nothing we would want to do anything about it. We don't want to do something about this guy. We actually applaud the fact that he's getting out there and showing people, demonstrating to people that we actually have rights that do need to be exercised. They are like muscles. Rights are like muscles. If you don't use them, they will atrophy. You will lose them. That is just a fact of life. Same thing with rights. You know what Jeff Gray is like? Jeff Gray is like your gym partner who pushes you to squeak out that last rep because he knows when that pain enters deep into the tissue, you have a better chance of growing. That's what he's doing right here. He's sensitizing people to the fact, hey, you can exercise your right. Hey, you might find this offensive. Hey, you shouldn't find it offensive because you live in a town called Cumming, so I love Cumming. Don't you love Cumming? What are people afraid of? Are people afraid that they're going to be driving down the road with their kids and the kid's going to look over at the dad and go, Daddy, what's Cumming? It's like, well, it's the town that we live in. Daddy, this guy loves Cumming. Do you and Mommy love Cumming? Is that what they're afraid of? It's like, who doesn't love Cumming?
I can't believe it. This guy can stand out there on that corner.
Ma'am, he's basically standing there to entice law enforcement to approach him because he's looking to get a law enforcement member in trouble. So he's standing...
Oh, so we have trained psychologists working at the 911 call center who can actually, from afar, get inside this guy's head and determine what his motives are for standing on the corner. It couldn't be that he's just exercising his inalienable right. He's out there trying to entice law enforcement to come out so he can get him. Well, what's there to get if the law enforcement officer who appears on the scene is out there to protect constitutional rights? There wouldn't be anything to get. Unless you're hiding something, 911 call center. Are you saying that you know people in the law enforcement agency incoming that would actually violate this guy's right? Is that what you're talking about? You can't entice somebody to do something if it's not in their heart to do it.
They're doing that so that all the citizens of Palm Coast will call. Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with it either, but unfortunately, there's not much more that we can do.
It's just horrible. It's horrible across the board. It's horrible that the members in the community want state violence, because that's what they're doing. When they call 911, they want men with guns to visit this guy and use the violence of the state to keep this guy from exercising his constitutional right. Let's call it what it is. That's exactly what we're dealing with here.
I think that's just terrible because Palm Coast is such a sweet little town.
I think it's just terrible that he's out there doing what Americans should be doing. It's just terrible. And guys, I understand people can see this sign as extremely offensive. It might cause me to raise an eyebrow going, you know, if I didn't live in the town of Cumming, be like, wow, is this guy a pervert or what's the deal? But then you're a human being. There are certain things that are going to be offensive, like this right here. This is from Mr. Porter's. This is from Mr. Porter's channel. Mr. Porter goes out there and he expresses his political views. This one happens to be like I don't know, it's like a 12 or 16 foot sign with a big penis on it saying Biden sucks. I don't like it. I think it's immature. But you know, this gives parents an opportunity to educate their kids. It's like, okay, first of all, we may not like, okay, Johnny, little Johnny, we may not like the picture that's on this sign, but you know what we need to do? We need to make sure that we sensitize ourselves to the fact that we have inalienable rights in this country. Actually, everybody has these inalienable rights. It's the question is, are the rulers of that country going to recognize those rights? But this is a teaching opportunity for kids. This is a teaching opportunity for everybody. You may not like this. This may seem offensive to you. This may be something that you vehemently disagree with. But this guy's got a right to do it. And you know what we need to be doing? We need to defend this guy's right to do what he's doing, even though we might disagree with it. What a perfect teaching moment. That's why I'm calling this an excellent psychological and social experiment, because it digs down deep into how people really feel. They actually favor the violence of the state coming down on somebody who's exercising their free speech. They favor that more than exercising freedom of speech. Well, I hate this sign right here. I don't like it. Do I think Biden sucks? I know Biden sucks. You could put a picture of Trump right there, Obama, Reagan. They all suck. Every single one of them. I can get over the fact that, you know, it's kind of offensive. It's disgusting. It's childish. It's immature, in my opinion. But doggone it, won't you defend this guy's right to do this to the death? Give me liberty or give me death. I care not what other course people may take, but as for me, give me liberty. This is the exercise of liberty. This is that dangerous, offensive freedom over peaceful slavery and servitude.
And I moved from Jack to get away from these crazy. So, oh well, it is what it is. But yeah, it is what it is. You guys have
all right. Well, thank you for calling. You too. Bye bye.
Clay County Sheriff's Office, this is Steven. May I help you?
Hey, Steven, I'm sorry to bother you today. I just have a quick question. I just drove by with my kids on Palm Coast Parkway and Old Kings Road, and there's an old man that has a sign that says, I love Cumming. Is that allowed?
Is that allowed? Well said, servant. Are we allowed to do this, teacher? Are we allowed to get up in the middle of class and sharpen our pencils? Are we allowed to get our books out of our book bag when we're done with our homework? Are we allowed? Do you guys allow us to actually stand on the street corner and hold a sign expressing our thoughts? Is that allowed? Guys, allowance equals permission. Permission equals, hey, somebody has a higher claim over my life and property than you. I better ask for permission before I do this. Spoken like a true slave. Is that something that's allowed? Let's listen to it again. It's just shameful, guys. It's shameful.
And there's an old man that has a sign that says, I love Cumming. Is that allowed?
Unfortunately, it is, because it's...
How many times have we heard the word unfortunately? Unfortunately, it is. Unfortunately, he has a First Amendment right to express himself. Unfortunately, we live in the land of the free, home of the brave, or at least it's supposed to be. But the way these people are talking, it's like they want the land of the free, home of the slave. Are we allowed to do this? Tell me when I'm allowed to go out, master. Tell me if I should wear a ritualistic shame muzzle before I go out. Tell me if I need some kind of passport before I go into that restaurant. Tell me if I'm allowed to hold a sign.
Freedom of speech.
Oh, I completely understand. I just thought I'd ask since I was driving by with my kids, and I was like, I see a lot of signs, but that's pushing it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your help. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Dispatch, Heather, may I help you?
Hi, I was just calling. Cypress Point and Palm Coast Parkway, there's a guy standing on the corner with a sign that says, I love coming.
Yeah, we've...
What if, I mean, you could really take this to the extent if you were a 911 caller. Well, yeah, we know that sign says that. I like coming too. Don't you like coming, ma'am? Don't you like coming? I mean, it's the classic part about this is it has a double meaning. The name of the town and the act.
already checked out with them. Unfortunately, it's one of those freedom of speech, and there's not anything that we're...
Unfortunately, it's one of those freedom of speech things. Doggone it. We got a freedom of speech. Can you believe, caller, that we got freedom of speech? Don't you want to eradicate that? We want to get that. That's another thing you could do if you were the 911 caller. You could go, yeah, you know what? That does suck that he's on the street corner exercising his freedom of speech. You know what we should do? We should start a petition in Cumming, Georgia, and find out how many people who want to eradicate freedom of speech. Matter of fact, let's just start dicing up the Bill of Rights. You don't have the freedom to be secure in your person's houses, papers, and effects. The law enforcement agents can break down your door any time of the day, anytime they want to, just based on suspicion. You looked real suspicious when you walked into your house after you gathered your mail there. So we thought we'd bust down the door and just do a welfare check on you. We just need to get rid of everything, don't we, ma'am? Just put her in her place. Put it back on her.
Able to do. Okay. And really, he's just...
What if this lady had a sticker on the back of her car that other people didn't like, and they called 911 on her, and then the cops I'm talking about the caller who wants state violence to come down on Jeff because because he has a sign, he's holding a sign. What if she had a bumper sticker that somebody didn't like, and they're in the middle of traffic, and somebody gets on their cell phone and calls 911? Hey, this lady in front of me has a pro-Biden sticker, and that's super offensive to me. Can you do something about it? Send some badged, uniformed, heavily armed tyrants. Get the helicopter in the air. The dog's on the ground. And then the law enforcement responded to that, pulled this lady over and said, ma'am, we're pulling you over because you got this bumper sticker and it's offending a whole lot of people in this town. She would not want that done to herself. She is actually violating the golden rule by asking violence to come down on Jeff. And then where does it end? Where does it end? Your freedom of speech will be severed just like that, man. And people are constantly looking to give away their rights, but she still wouldn't want that done to her.
Trying to entice law enforcement. He's, looking for an argument, basically. What lovely people. Uh-huh. Sorry, can Sheriff's Office, do you have an emergency?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you have an emergency?
No.
How can I help you?
Yeah, I was wanting to see if you could do something and send a sheriff up by the corner of Palm Coast Parkway and
Are you calling about the gentleman with the sign?
Yeah, I had my wife and another elderly lady with me, and that's pretty offensive, and he's lucky I didn't have my kids with me. But
he's lucky I didn't have my kids with me because, man, oh, man, it would come to blows because I like violence over freedom of speech, man, any day of the week here in Cumming, Georgia. This guy loves coming. I don't love coming.
That's freaking uncalled for.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry, hold on 1 second. Traffic 16. Unfortunately, sir, there's not much that we can do
Unfortunately,
because of the First Amendment and his freedom of speech. Unless he's out in the road actually blocking traffic, he is allowed to be there.
Really? Because I thought you weren't allowed to go out in public and scream profanities and do things like that to disrupt the flow of traffic and scream
as long as
obscenities.
he's not blocking the road, there's nothing that we can do. We've already had a deputy out with him.
There's nothing we can do, but boy, do we want to do something. Oh, that dang First Amendment. Roscoe P. Coltrane. I got my bullet. Barn. Ange, I got my bullet. Can I use my bullet?
Well, and somebody's going to end up beating his ass because I'll tell you what, if I had my kids with me and they started asking me what that was, he'd probably get the freaking lips slapped right off his face.
Then you wouldn't be a very good parent, would you, sir? Because your answer to a guy with the sign is bring out the fist. You're teaching your kids that violence is the answer. Way to go, Dad. Maybe we need to, hey, I'll tell you what, since you expressed that to us, sir, on this phone right here, maybe we need to bring CPS out here and make you insecure in your person's houses, papers, and effects and have a little investigation. Because it sounds like you like the way of violence. That ain't the way to get things done. And so instead of using this guy's intellect, instead of taking the hard route of, hey, let's de-escalate this, let's bring this down. Yeah, I'm offended about the sign, but you know what? You know what, little Johnny, little Susie? My kid's asking me a question. Daddy, what's that sign mean right there? Oh, God, no, I'll tell you what. Look how red my face is getting. Oh, I'm so angry because of words. Words made me angry, Johnny and Susie. Just sit in the back seat. I'm going to take care of this guy because words have offended me. See how triggered I can get, Johnny and Susie? What a bad way to teach your kids. You had an opportunity, dude. You had an opportunity to go, hey, you know what? Guys, I hate that sign. It's distasteful. It's offensive. There are people who are going to see that are going to be, a little bit triggered about that. And that's, I don't like that. But guess what? Let's defend this guy's right to say this because this is America. We can do this kind of stuff. They can't do this in China. You can't go on a street corner and express your thoughts like this guy can here in America. Isn't that awesome? We are not a socialist country. Actually, we are. But, this is great, guys. This is what being America, an American is all about. Now, let's go to violence. Well, I'll tell you what, if my kids weren't in the car, I'd park my car right in the middle of the street blocking traffic, and I'd execute some violence down on this guy's ass. I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
So
I understand feeling that way.
it's going to end up causing a bigger problem.
What he's trying to do is bait law enforcement into going out there and creating a confrontation. We've already been out with him. We've talked to him. Unfortunately, we cannot violate his First Amendment. So
there you go. That says it all. Unfortunately, we cannot violate his First Amendment. Unfortunately, we can't execute violence on this guy, put the torture cuffs on him and throw him into a rape cage simply for saying or writing words that people can see on the street. Unfortunately, we can't do that. Boy, wouldn't you like to live in a world where we could just exercise some curbside justice here in Cumming, Georgia.
as long as he's not blocking traffic, there isn't anything we can do about the sign that he's holding.
Well, like I said, that's fine, but it's going to end up, somebody's going to get frustrated and knock the crap out of him.
Like you?
Yeah, unfortunately, if that were to happen, then, that person would be in trouble for physically assaulting somebody.
And then she said, unfortunately, if that were to happen, we would have to arrest you. We wouldn't want to arrest you for doing violence on a peaceful guy over here. Unfortunately, we can't wreck the life of this peaceful guy. And unfortunately, we would have to come and do real justice for somebody who actually did wrong and actually committed a crime. So it's unfortunate on this scale, and it's unfortunate on this side.
So
yeah, but some people think it's worth it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Amazing. This Jeff Gray did in one video what it would take people a lifetime to learn. He actually went in to the psychological makeup of members in the community, some members who called in, and revealed that they would rather have state-funded, tax cattle-funded violence come down on the head of a peaceful person who's literally not only doing nothing wrong, but standing in his and your constitutional rights. And they want this guy to lose 100% of his freedoms because he expressed thoughts that they found offensive in some way. Guys, leave your thought. What I'm going to do is I'll leave the link to Honor Your Oath Civil Rights Investigation. It's called I Love Smith v. Cumming, which is a court case. I'll leave that in the description and in the pinned comment. Visit Jeff. He's got a lot of great videos, a lot of really informative, educational, instructive videos. And I'll leave that link in the description and the pinned comment. If you visit him, let him know that Here's the Deal sent you. I really appreciate you guys checking this channel out. Subscribe to my channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. Thanks for joining me. I will see you guys in the next video.